and then they assimilated with us to create whatever our current race is. And those are aliens, and we have aliens living amongst us, and all the bullshit that's happening in the world is our mothership attempting to try to come back and save us from all this, but we ourselves don't know that we've been the aliens the entire time.
So I know that last week you were very stoned.
You gonna die?
I don't know what's going on. Airheads are back. I mean, my sinuses don't hit. Everybody knows that. But like today's one of those days where I don't know what the problem is. I mean, I often don't, but like it's a beautiful blue sky day in Southern California. It's not cold, gray, rainy, a lot of things that often aggravate my sinuses. And yet I'm just a mucusy hacking mess over here, which I know is unfortunate for anybody that is listening to me talk. But
yeah, at least it's an audio medium,
right.
So that's good.
Katie sent me a screenshot the other day of apparently the air quality has been bad, but there ain't no fires or nothing yet. I mean, it won't be long, I'm sure, before all of California is on fire again. But right now there's no wildfires. So I don't know what the air quality is about. I guess it's just, they still be polluting and stuff. I've been under the impression for a while that we had kind of got that under control, at least to an extent. I remember when we were kids in the 90s hearing about like smog and all that stuff. It's like all the cities everywhere are just covered in a constant haze of like stank air that'll kill you. And they feel like they kind of cleaned. I know we're still murdering the planet. I'm just saying, I thought that had kind of gotten under control, but perhaps not. Perhaps it's still real bad. I don't know.
Well, forgive me if I'm wrong, and I'm no meteorologist or scientist or even a learned person in anything, but I was always told and led to believe that the reason for the amount of fires and even earthquakes and stuff y'all had was that y'all have a considerable amount of homosexuals,
gay people. Yes,
gay people.
That is
out
my
there.
Understanding as well. Yes, there's more gay sex per capita here, and thus obviously more smiting per capita as well.
From the Lord.
The wrath of the Lord is felt more harshly and frequently out here because of all the homosexual
Whereas
activity.
when we in the South here, we just had this winter storm that affected a lot of things and took some lives and stuff. But that was just, from what I read now, again, I don't know anything, but that was the Jews with their weather machine that did that one. So y'all have the homosexuals. It's a very Old Testament, New Testament situation we got going on the coast.
But we also have the Jews. The Jews are headquartered here.
Right.
And deploy the weather machine to, assault y'all there. Obviously, there's no Jews there. So
because
the gays, the Jews, everything, all in basically California, just, hive. Was it a hive of scum and villainy? Is that the Star Wars quote? Yeah. The likes of which you've never seen. Just Jews and gays for days. I don't know what we're going to do, but,
And so
nice.
If you break it down, really, it's like, okay, so the South, like the Lord is ours. I mean, I think everybody knows that the Lord is ours, right?
Yeah.
And so the Lord gives y'all the earthquakes and burns your places down, and then y'all give us, the Jews give us tornadoes and ice storms and stuff. I mean, I gotta say though, point God, like y'all, I don't think y'all can compete.
What do you mean?
I mean, like y'all, the Jew lasers aren't doing as good a job on us as our God is doing on y'all. He smotes y'all more than y'all smote us.
Right. I think that generally things don't hit more for more people in the South than California, though. I don't know if you count all that as being God, or if God is confined only to weather events and disasters in this scenario. Because I was also thinking, it's like, but God also made all these beautiful mountains and coastlines and stuff out here, but that was before the gays got here. There were famously no gays, and the gays and the Jews showed up and took all that from the Indians which
Right.
God obviously don't care for Indians either, if we're being honest. I don't know what they did. I don't know how much gay stuff Indians were doing. Maybe they were gayer than we realized because
Well,
they got smoked real bad by God. God really just goes in on most people, except for his chosen people, of course, straight white Christian American
right. Well, God
conservatives,
doesn't.
who he protects in all things. So
To be fair to God, I think it's because, and we're obviously talking about the biblical God here. You know, the God of Abraham. He probably doesn't fuck with the Indians because I don't think they don't really believe in him. They believe that now I can't speak for all Indians, but like they have a very like God is the earth type thing, and they have many gods and many spirits. So it makes sense that the Abrahamic God would not like them because he's a very jealous God.
yeah, but the Indians were doing Indian stuff and believing in Indian gods and everything before this God even had told people he was a thing, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
That seems unfair of him to hold that against him, you know? How was they
Well,
supposed to know? He
but
had
he
not
does
yet
that though.
sent and killed his son and all
I
that.
mean, he does that though because like I remember when I was a kid asking the preacher because like I don't know if you know this, but like there's I mean, well of course you know this, but like specifically there's areas of like Papua New Guinea, like in that area that are completely untouched by civilization. We have on the map that shit is blank. We don't know fuck all about it. We ain't, which is very surprising that there's a spot that any white man has decided, yeah, we're just not gonna, go over there. And I remember asking as a
We'll
kid,
circle back to that in a minute. Go ahead.
sure, I remember asking as a kid, like, they go, well, missionaries' whole reason is to go spread the word of God because there's these people that they unfortunately have never heard about God, which, by the way, God being omniscient and everything, it always felt a little bullshit to me that, like, really, like, there's just places that he's not been. Like, why wouldn't he be known about there if he's so omniscient? You don't think he could have dropped a couple books off there, But they would say that, like, they don't know about it. And I said, well, if there's these people that live their entire life and they never even hear the word of God, then how can they be held accountable? And the preacher said, well, they just burn in hell forever.
Okay.
Right.
See, that's the different versions of because I also that was one of my earliest questions in my path to godlessness, which was like much less fraught than yours because I wasn't like raised in the church to begin with. But I
It's the
was in
only
Salina.
trauma I have that you don't.
I was in Salina, Tennessee. So I mean, I was surrounded by it all the time, and I still heard about plenty of it, like generally. And one of the first things that I ever thought of, the inconsistencies to me was that and what you just said was like, well, wait a minute though. There's kids in Africa and shit or wherever that don't even literally aren't aware of this as
Right.
an option. So but what I'm saying is I was told as a kid, it was hand waved away for me, meaning like, I don't remember exactly, but that there was some kind of an allowance for that. Basically,
Okay.
they didn't just hit me with, yeah, well, they just have to burn in hell and fuck them to death. They didn't hit me with that. Thus spake the Lord. But it was still like some bulls. They were like, well, God understands that or something. They kind of mysterious ways did is what I'm saying.
Dude,
But it still didn't fly for me.
you know what I just realized is a wild crossover between.
Because sorry, I
No, go ahead.
also the whole time I was like, okay, but to me, even if you born in a fully Muslim country and
Right.
all you've ever known is Allah and
Right.
stuff,
Which
and
is God.
you're aware of Jesus, but you've only ever had the opportunity to be on board with Allah, like I still think that is fucked up if you gonna
It
just
is.
burn that person in hell for all and that they didn't make any kind of allowance for. They were like, well, yeah,
Right.
obviously Muslims burn in hell for all
Right.
eternity,
Forever.
and so like even that at the time, I was like, well, I don't know about that. And of course, the biggest one for me was that gays burn in hell for all eternity, and just for being born that
Yeah.
way. But of course, their whole position was you're not born.
They're
that
not
way.
born that way.
But
Right.
that's how they get around that. But anyway, whatever.
But
What were you about to
interestingly
say?
enough, though, a murderer they can repent and then go to heaven, but butt fuckers, that's worse
Well,
than murderers.
no, but I think they think though that if you a buggerer, a sodomite or whatever, you could if you repent and then, go only women's or whatever, straight, the straight and narrow from that point forward. If you just make yourself not gay and
Right.
repent, I think that's also fine. But it's just that that's why they have gay conversion camps and all this shit. Like they think they
Right.
can fix you, just like some of them think you can fix a murderer or
Right.
whatever if you truly repent and let Jesus into your heart. It's just we know that's fucked up because being gay and being a murderer obviously ain't the same thing. But I do think that they try to treat them the same, which is part of the problem. But that was another thing I always had kind of and I know that they're not all like this, but like Catholicism in particular, the idea that you could live your whole life doing horrific shit and then at the end of it do the right combination of fucking Hail Marys and Hello Dollies or whatever the fuck and be fine. That never
Yes.
hit for me neither. I was
Me
always
either.
like, well, that's fucking stupid. Like I don't
Me
anyway. So
Me
whatever.
either, but one thing I will give the Catholics genuinely, like, if we can sort of, hand wave the years of sexual cover-ups with minors, like, and of course all of them weren't doing that. I know that. But like the one thing about the Catholics that do hit for me is that, and I know several, they actually do pride themselves on good works. You know what I mean? Like they really do pride themselves on good works. Whereas a lot of religions talk a lot of talk, like Baptists are just like, yeah, once saved, always saved, whatever. And they won't actually go out and help the poor and they won't actually do that. But Catholics really do have this sense of duty about good works and like earning their way into heaven to the point where like they do believe like, oh, I need to repent or I'm not going to go. So they have this like built-in incentive to continue to be a good person. Whereas a lot of Christians don't really have that incentive. And I've always like, again, it's all bullshit, but like, at least they have that. And I'm someone who believes in good works. Like I believe in, and I'm not even religious, but I believe in good works. I believe,
Yeah.
I'm like a Spider-Manologist. With great power comes great responsibility. That's my motto.
I've said this before. I've been saying this since I was fully head up my own ass, dorm room intellectual at the age of 20.
So when you were
I've
born,
been saying this. Yeah, even before I got to the dorm room. But like I've been saying this that whole time. And from the time I found it, which I don't remember how long ago it was, I pretty much thought that, and I mean, again, this is not a cliche at this point, but I felt that like the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius kind of nailed it as far as I'm concerned. Because he said about that whole thing that you were talking about good works, whatever. I remember he summed it up as saying like, just, I'm paraphrasing, but essentially live a good life and be a good person.
right?
If there are gods and they are just, then you will be rewarded for that, whether you believe in them or not.
Right.
If there are gods and they are unjust, then fuck them. They don't deserve your worship and you don't want to spend eternity with them anyway. And if there are no gods at all, you will live on in the life and memory of your loved ones and the people you touched with your good works and shit in your life. And so, like, I feel like that's pretty much,
and also
that's pretty much it to me. I feel like that's pretty much all you need. Just, golden rule, be a good person, do good things, treat people the way you want to be treated, and fucking let it work itself out. Ain't nothing else you can do about it.
And also, might I add, it's its own reward. Like selfishly, doing good things for people makes you feel good. Like it really does. Like it really makes you feel good.
Well,
and like
it makes you feel good. It makes me feel good. I think there's plenty of people do like feel nothing from that. Who would do something like that and be like, what a waste of fucking time this shit was. I should be working towards that Maserati I want. I need to get back to that.
Yeah, but do you think that maybe they've never tried it or something like that? Because like,
look, some of them, yes, but dude, we know for a fact that sociopaths and shit that's a real thing. Like they're
right.
Some of them, yeah, they're raised that way. They believe they get in their head early on that selfishness is the way to be. So they never do anything else. And so they wouldn't even know. That's what like movies like, or that's what like the story of Scrooge and shit is about people like being shown how much value there is in being a good person and being like, oh my God, I never knew. And yes, I think there's real people for whom that is the case and that's how it works. But I think there's plenty of people though, dude, who you could like they could be court ordered to do some good
Right.
for some other people and would be like, this is fucking stupid bullshit the whole time they were doing it. You know, like look at the welling up tears in the grateful eyes of an orphan child they fed and just be like, ugh.
Right.
You know, like
those people should be
fully
killed.
think that there are more people out there like that than we would care to admit. That's what I think.
When I said Papua New Guinea, you said you wanted to circle back to something, and I want to hear it.
Well,
do you
then
remember?
I started thinking. I feel like maybe I've brought this up not that long ago.
Who cares? We have new listeners every week.
Because it might have been on Well Read though. I don't fucking know. But because I only found out about this recently, and I thought it was wild. You were saying to me, it's wild that there's anywhere on earth that's untouched by man, by the white man in particular, but just by man, period.
It's crazy.
I agree with that. On that note, I know you watched the show Pluribus, right?
Oh,
Gilligan's
love
new show. I had no idea, dude. My whole life, I never knew that North America and South America are you can't go
there
from one to the other without either flying or getting in a boat. Like I figured there was a road, maybe not one connected highway, but a system of roads. I thought you could start in Nome, Alaska, if you wanted to at this point in time, and you could drive all the way to fucking Santiago, Chile or whatever, on a motorcycle wearing a leather jacket and a backpack and filming yourself for fucking, a TV show or whatever, if you wanted to do that. Right. But that is not true because at the top of South America, there's this fucking bush that goes so hard.
Yeah.
That
you talking about the Eraserhead or the
Hellraiser trees?
The Hellraiser trees?
Yeah, what the fuck was that?
Let me pull those up.
So those things are it's called the Darien Gap, which I had no idea existed. And like, there's no roads, there's no nothing because they can't build roads there. And you can't, so you're like, all right, well, you hike through it. And that's a plot point in the show. Pluribus is relevant because it's a plot point in the show that one of the characters attempts to hike through the Darien Gap, basically. And like, you pretty much just can't do it. It's one of those harsh, unforgiving, like, climbs on planet Earth. And I just ain't know that because, dude, we built the Panama Canal. Do you know what I mean? We connected the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean because we were like, it don't hit for us that you can't just do this. And so we just poured billions of dollars in all kinds of just, fucking indentured servant expendable lives into making that happen. Right. So in my mind, I was like, surely they've done that with connecting the two continents over land too, but they haven't because you can't. And I just thought, I don't know how I lived 39 years on this earth, on this continent in particular, and did not know that was a thing. But then I found out. But yeah, those trees right there. Fuck that, dude.
Dude, like, absolutely fuck that. And what is this? So like, what do you think? Obviously, every single thing like that, every weird thing that a plant or animal has is some sort of evolutionary defense mechanism. But like, what particularly was fucking with these trees? Because like, other trees don't be doing that. Like our trees out here don't have shit like that. And I mean, woodpeckers be getting at them all the time. So like, what the fuck, man? Like it really is crazy. Like you have no idea how lucky you are to be born in America. And I don't mean, obviously the current landscape is what it is. But like when you start looking at shit like that, and then Australia where they got like spiders the size of monkeys and like snakes that can eat a fucking trailer. Like we really got the pick of the litter when it came to animals and stuff.
Yeah, that's definitely, that's true. I kind of think that, again, going back to California, when we like traveled up and down California, I was like, dude, the people that either the natives who were here for years, but they walked here from somewhere. And then later the white people that made natives bring them here. Either way, just getting out here and being like, you talk about jackpot, bro.
Oh yeah.
Like it's unreal. And then all the people that just like sort of were trying to do that, but said, fuck it and gave up. And fucking like Ferguson, Missouri, or
Yeah, I was about to say, like,
whatever,
whoever stopped in
or
Salina, Kansas.
Springfield, Missouri, or Salina,
Yeah.
Kansas, because they were like, "Fuck
What a
this, dude! It ain't
dude.
worth it. It ain't worth it." Now,
Yeah.
like their whole family for generations just lives there instead of here. Which
Yeah.
I mean, I'm one of those people until I moved here. But
did you ever hear that Ron White joke?
It's
where
funny to think about.
That Ron White joke. I think he told it on Kill Tony, but he was obviously, when he goes on Kill Tony, he's just working out material, and he goes, man, Hollywood is just so many beautiful people, and the reason is that people came here to make movies, and it was the most beautiful people in the world that was making movies, and those beautiful people met other beautiful people, and they fucked, and they had beautiful babies, and then those beautiful babies met other beautiful people, and they fucked and had even more beautiful babies. And right now, the exact opposite is going on in Salina, Kansas.
Dude, so I didn't look, and listen, if we got any listeners in Salina, Kansas, forgive us.
They know the deal.
I knew Salina, Kansas existed because I'm from Salina, Tennessee. And what's funny is, well, anyway, I'll get to that in a minute, but like, I knew it was a place, but I didn't know anything about it until you had that infamous experience there and told us all about it. And I knew that, and I was like, well, that sounds like that place don't hit. But then in the years since, I've heard all these other people commit. So that Ron White joke, Dean Del
I'm the same way, by the way. I didn't know anything about it until I went.
Dean Del Rey, LA comedian, has been here for years.
Hilarious.
I've seen him tell a story multiple times about doing comedy in Salina, Kansas, and about how much of a fucking nightmare it was at that place, everything. And like, I just didn't know until you brought it up. And ever since you brought it up, I feel like I hear people, it's like a go-to punching bag for people being like, a place that don't hit. And what I tell like Dean in the fucking green room afterwards, whatever, it's like, what's fun about that, bro, is that I'm from Salina, Tennessee, and it's at least 10 times worse than Salina, Kansas. I think it's like, Salina, Kansas is the worst place you've ever been to. You should come to my Salina if you think that one's bad. But anyway,
hey, I got a video I think will hit for you. Okay, so the contention here
is wild. Katie literally was just describing this video to me before I walked out of the house to come out here.
Okay, so for those just listening, this is a guy who he's British, but he's convinced that his son is Southern because of the way that he talks. And let me start it over here.
John boy?
Yes, Daddy.
What colour is this magnet tile?
Red.
Red? Red? Say again?
Red.
And what colour is this cabinet?
Black.
What is it?
Black.
White.
Cheers, mate. Thanks. That's all I needed.
Isn't that fucking great?
Yeah, I love it. You say he's convinced his son is Southern. His son is Southern, right? I mean,
his son is Southern?
So he's British. He lives in Alabama. That's what Katie said.
Oh, okay. I didn't read that part. He's
a British man who married a woman from Alabama, and they live in Alabama, and that little baby is growing up in Alabama, and that's why he sounds like that.
See, I just make things up in my head to make them hit harder, and I thought that his son was just pronouncing things like how babies say stuff wrong, and so that guy was like, "This sounds like a Southerner from the United States," and that hit for me.
No, but dude, little British babies, they sound super British. That's one of the reasons why they hit so hard. So like one of the earliest super viral videos was, Charlie bit me finger. No, Charlie. Like that hit real hard for Americans just because it's just babies being British, and we were like, "Oh, fucking love that shit," which I do fucking love that shit. But you were like, why, how can a tree fucking like evolve to be a Hellraiser tree, right?
Yeah.
Pinhead from Hellraiser. Like, and apparently, according to the internet, and this is how wild evolution be.
It's so wild.
This first part makes sense. Obviously, it's almost obvious, but it's to keep mammals and creatures on the ground from being able to climb it to eat its fruit. But a lot of times trees eat its own fruit. A lot of times the whole point of fruit, is to be eaten. Like plants want fruit to be eaten because that's how they spread. They seeds or whatever get pooped out elsewhere or spit out elsewhere or whatever. But in this case, apparently, again, if the internet is to be believed, the specific digestive systems of mammals and ground dwelling herbivores and stuff, like ruins the seeds of that tree,
Right.
like melts the seeds, whatever. They're not viable anymore. But birds don't do that. The seeds of that tree will pass right through a bird's digestive system and be fine.
Right.
So birds can fly in, eat the fruit, transport it elsewhere. Trees grow somewhere else, but the animals on the ground can't get to the fruit because of the spikes. So it, like, as with everything in evolution, you know, it's geared towards making it spread and reproduce more efficaciously is apparently how that happened.
I don't know how to ask this in a smart way at all. So I'm just going to ask. I know that evolution takes thousands, millions of years or whatever, right? Yep. I know this. But like when that tree decides we got to do something about this, like,
yeah,
like, do they just like go, you know what I mean? Do they just grow spikes?
No,
like
not at all.
What, like what though? But what though?
Well, that's the wildest part of all of it. To me, like they don't, and it's not just tree. Like obviously, trees don't think, man, we got to do something. Obviously, trees.
Well, I don't know that they don't.
You might think that animals might, but even animals don't, because every evolution ever was just some random shit that just happened and then it hit.
But benefited, right, yeah,
right. So it's just purely random, like.
Right.
But
so
it's
like,
just, and that seems unthinkable to so many people, especially like that's part of the reason why dumb people be like, okay, sure. Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I know. But that's because we can't, and it's another one of my, you know, pet subjects that's come up so many times over the years, but like we just can't grasp the true scope of time, you know, like we're incapable of understanding how fucking long these timelines actually are, and over enough time and enough random happenstance occurrences, you get to, you know, things that make sense in that way.
And this is the best we got out of
all
so
that. Far. I mean, it's not like evolution was like, all right, we nailed it, we're done, pack it up.
Yeah.
Like,
well, for alligators and sharks, it did.
Well, yeah. I mean, yes. Yeah. For some creatures, it's, you know, when you reach max level, you stop leveling up or whatever. Like, so,
what's our next thing though?
Well, we don't know. Nobody knows.
But
we've talked about this before because some people, well, I know for a fact on a previous episode, well, that would be fucking wild and would
I can already do it.
Some people think that like, never. You know, there's been some people be like, well, what if it's like autism or a version of it or some placement on the autism spectrum or whatever? You know what I mean? Like high functioning autism or something is something like that. That's
eidetic memory and stuff.
There was, because you know, Shane Black pretty infamously kind of made that a plot point in that Predator movie he made, which was so awful.
Boy.
And so it's kind of like a running joke now. And I'm not saying that is the case. I'm just saying that's one thing I've seen people say, and then other people think, you know, just whatever, it hasn't happened yet. That's kind of the, you know, kind of the premise of X-Men is that you know, that starts happening during our lifetime, and then of course X-Men, you know, it's comic book and it's a wild ass version of it. But I'll tell you what isn't the next step in human evolution. This is also related to the video you showed. I should have showed it right after, but I just had to go back to the trees.
Always.
Share this and tell me when you're ready, and I'll play it. If you can't hear it, stop me, but otherwise just listen. So, you know, British dad, Southern son, accents, we love them, right? Yeah. So this is apparently, I guess, this is what like Toronto youth sound like, apparently.
Okay. Red flag in a Toronto girl.
9-9's my word, fam. If she's not blessing me knee wazzles every day, I have to block that catty. I can't deal with that, fam. 2-2's my word. I need some wazzles right now, Crow. Are you dumb?
What's a major red flag in a Toronto girl?
9-9.
There you go.
Okay, so Jamaican but dumber.
It's wild because I feel like, and for the record, I've seen this is like become kind of a trend or a thing. This Toronto kid happens to be black, but I've seen plenty of these videos that the whole point of them is like, can you believe how these Toronto kids talk? Where it's like white Toronto kids in a mall who are still basically talking like this. Because what I think is wild about it is it's like, it does sound like almost some kind of patois or something, but you can hear, but you can hear the Canadian.
Play it again.
In my opinion, at the same time.
Taking a Toronto girl.
9-9's my word, fam. If she's not blessing me knee wazzles every day, I have to block that catty. I can't deal with that, fam. 2-2's my word. I need some wazzles right now, Crow. Are you dumb?
What's a
every day?
right? Right. Yeah. I don't know. It's wild.
The black
The top
folk,
comment says they got to nuke Toronto.
the black folk
This might be
in
the worst accent in the world.
Canada's so wild because you do be just having French Canadian black dudes, and that's one of the coolest things you can be. Like a fucking like
I don't think that's a French Canadian thing.
No. I know. No, I know.
That's
Separate
Toronto,
thing.
which is Ontario, and French Canada is
Yeah.
Quebec, Montreal.
But regardless, like they have a lot of French, and the French dude. I mean, one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life was a French black Canadian, and it's such a French Canadian is almost like the perfect species because like you get the super coolness from France and the that certain joie de vivre about being French, and you get that accent, but you get the kindness of Canada that you wouldn't have from. Where'd you think I was going?
No, well, I was like, you just really gonna like betray your papaws and ancestry and all the years of this show by acting like France hits all of a sudden. But
No,
but I get what you're
I'm
saying. You're like it's the best parts of France. They're like the daywalkers of France. It's like they're like sexy and romantic and everything, but they're not like smug pricks to everybody. So,
exactly.
Except I'm not speaking from experience. I don't know. But I think that it is still a stereotype that in Canada, French Canada, I think they do be like the smug parts of Canada.
The white ones.
Right.
The white ones.
Black regular French people are probably also cool, I would imagine.
I agree. I agree.
The black people are cool everywhere.
I agree.
It's not really the Canada part then, and that it's just the black part. If you black in France, you fine. If you white in France, you're little.
And for the record,
look, obviously I'm kidding around, but also.
And for the record, I dream of a world where everyone is allowed to be the same smug, but like when you're black, you can't be smug. Like smug is a very white privilegey thing to do. You can be smug and it's just kind of fine. I feel like black people aren't really allowed to be smug as much as even if they need to be, because like they're always worried that somebody's coming out to get them and they got to put on a good face.
On that, what? Where are you at in 2026 on Neil deGrasse Tyson?
Let me tell you one thing now.
You find him to be at least a little bit smug,
I do, no? but he does it in a fucking nerdy way, which is even worse. Like, okay, let me tell you something. The very first time that Neil deGrasse Tyson debunked some technology from Marvel using his actual knowledge, it was cute. It was a fun thing to do. But now that motherfucker does it with goddamn everything. Like, you can't have a Marvel movie come out where he's like, well, actually, the atomizer they used wouldn't be able to blah, 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 and do da-da-da-da-da-da. But he's smug, not in the French way, which is nobody is as good as me. He's smug in the nerd kind of way, which kind of takes away from his, not that there's not black nerds, there can be, there should be, but like Neil deGrasse Tyson is almost like not even a race. Like, he's just his own thing. You know what I mean? Polka dot tie, sounds like a Simpsons character.
It's funny you say sounds like a Simpsons character, because you said he's like smug in a nerd way, and I was like, yeah, it's that like comic book guy type of smug or whatever, which is, so it's kind of ironic. He's always, well, not ironic, I guess, but it's appropriate maybe. He's always taking down comic book premises and stuff. But
I think
black nerds. I think there's plenty of black nerds, but again, I think a lot of black nerds, it's like
they're still cool,
right? They are, because again, they still black, so they're like nerds, Kanye, but they're cool as fuck. They're like the coolest version of nerds, Yes.
So like, dude, Kanye was a black nerd. Like, he was the first backpack rapper that made it, kind of big. He was a nerd, like always on his grind, writing his stuff. Fucking Childish Gambino, Donald Glover, a nerd, right? Coolest nerd on the planet. Dude, anybody that's ever been in Doctor Who, right? Like, yeah, their nerds are just so much. Like, Urkel was such a fictitious character, because that doesn't really exist. Because maybe we use the term nerd and smart interchangeably. You know what I'm saying? But like a true nerd black dude is still cool as fuck.
Right. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, I
Are
definitely
we being
think that,
racist?
no, I don't know. I hope not. Uh,
I'm not
no,
trying to be.
right. I don't know what we're doing. I mean, we started off by talking about God, cursing the gays and everywhere they live. So it's been kind of a theme for this episode. And with that said, maybe we'll take a quick break and then see what happens right after this.
Yep. Y'all, in my family, the dog isn't just a pet, it's family. Okay. And that's been the case since I've been a child. And right now I am dogless only because ours passed away right before we had a kid. And we're just waiting until it's a little, we don't want him to throw the dog down the stairs. You understand what I'm saying? But we take it very seriously. And their health is very serious. And my mother's dog, Reese, little Reese, Reese Cup, had been itching a lot lately. And we knew that it wasn't really normal, licking her paws and scratching and rubbing her back against stuff. And these are not normal dog behaviors. And then I got a holler from my friends at Better Wild, okay? Because apparently allergies in dogs flare up when bad bacteria takes over the gut. And that's the thing. It's so much of our gut, y'all. We don't realize that our gut health actually affects everything. And that's why we now use Better Wild Allergy Relief Soft Chews with Reese, which is a supplement designed to support their pet allergy defense system by strengthening their digestion. And I can tell you, my mother is very pleased. Reese is like a complete new dog. They are the first and only chews with Ancestral Advantage wolf probiotics derived from your dog's mighty ancestor, the wolf. Before we turned them into things that we put at the Westminster Dog Show. They used to be just wolves, right? Their mighty ancestor, the wolf. It helps restore a healthy balance of good bacteria in the gut. It's a premium blend of wolf probiotics called the Ancestral Advantage, okay? It's derived from kimchi that's been clinically proven to reduce itchiness and redness in just 2 months with daily use, colostrum to boost immune function and slight inflammation. This is great stuff. It's making Reese a lot. She just has such a better life. She's not sniffling around. She's not rubbing on herself. It's just better. And knowing that your dog is happy makes you happy. So they're committed to helping your dogs with science-backed, veterinarian-approved solutions that you can feel great about. Right now, Better Wild is offering our listeners up to 40% off your order at betterwild.com/POA. That's betterwild.com/POA for up to 40% off your order. betterwild.com/POA. Guys, I love Mando so much. As someone who I'm so neurotic about how I smell. You can ask my wife. I shower multiple times a day. I'm always putting on deodorant. I'm always putting on smelly good and stuff. But lately, I've been wanting to use more natural stuff because I know all that stuff that you're putting in there with the aluminums and all that, it can really hurt you. But I've never found one that actually worked. That's the whole thing. Every time I try one, I'm like, yeah, but I still stink. Okay, maybe I'll be more healthy, but it doesn't work. What's the point of this, right? But Mando is not the deal with that. Mando actually works. Mando works up to 72 hours. Now, I would never test that myself because I'm too neurotic, but I'm told that it does. They've also got a whole body deodorant. You can put this anywhere, okay? On your pits, on your balls, on your sack, on your butthole, anywhere. And I do. I put it everywhere. It was created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. It's clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. They've got a solid deodorant stick for you classic people, okay? It's also powered by mandelic acid to stop odor before it even starts. And they've got a spray deodorant. It's aluminum free, ideal for those hard to reach places. I do that when I'm going for a walk. I just right down there. All of them are baking soda free, paraben free. You choose from a wide variety of fresh scents. Bourbon leather, Clover Woods, Mount Fuji, or Pro Sport. I'm a Pro Sport person myself. I'm a big fan of that. What was it? The Polo Blue, the Pro Sport. It's clinically proven to control odor better than a shower with soap alone. 12 hours after a shower, the average man's Grundle odor level was a 5 out of 10. With Mando, the average Grundle level is a 0 out of 10. You don't want your Grundle stinking. So you want to try America's #1 whole body deodorant formula right now. You can find them in Walmart, Target, and other retailers across the country. But for the best deals, go to shopmando.com. Okay, some men mask their BO with sense. Mando men get the job done right. Don't mask it, Mando it. Available in retailers near you, or head to shopmando.com, because for a limited time, new customers get a 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code. Use code POA at shopmando.com for 20% off site-wide plus free shipping. shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. Mando's got you covered with deodorant plus sweat control. Say goodbye to sweat stains and hello to long-lasting freshness.
All right, we're back. All right, Cho, what else is going on?
So
You heard about this? You heard about this? What else is going on? Sorry.
Hey, what's new? I saw a thing at one of them in particular, and you'll know which one. Man, me and you finally have a word for something. But I'm always been fascinated with words that the English language doesn't have. Such as Schadenfreude might be my favorite one. Like words that the Germans have come up with, or like, Alaska, those people have a million for snow, but it just doesn't translate to English. And I saw a list on the internet here of emotions that don't exist in the English language. Okay. And this one right here is the one that I think applies to me and you the most. This is from Japan. It is kuchisabishi, which is the feeling of eating not because you're hungry, but because you're seeking comfort through the taste and sensation.
Yeah, kuchisabishi.
Kuchisabishi, right? Me and you feel a lot of kuchisabishi.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. I'm trying so hard to think of, because, it's like, I don't know. Do something with that, Cho. Kuchisabishi,
It sounds like a Mike Myers character from Austin Powers. Mm-hmm. I can tell you that. Kuchisabishi, yeah, I got nothing, but
there's Kuchi-sabi. I feel like a girl crying after a failed attempt at cunnilingus is where my head went. But
Kuchisabishi
from me, but the order of the words there doesn't make sense.
It
but
could
anyway,
also be pronounced Kuchisabishi. I could be wrong. Kuchisabishi
to me sounds more. I mean, I've got another good one of these from Japan that I brought up on.
Tell me.
Read. I brought it up on Well Read before, but you just reminded me of it. That I'm sure I'm also butchering. As a matter of fact, I know I'm butchering it because one of my patrons is she curates a Japanese museum.
Oh, I love that. We should have her on as like a special episode.
And so when I talked about this on Well Read, she said something on Patreon about how she loved it, but also was laughing at the way that I pronounced it. And I don't know how to pronounce it any differently, but another one of the Japanese phrases.
It's one of those things where, didn't you say that in order to accurately pronounce Asian words, you have to try to do it with the accent? Right.
I just know that in Mandarin and I assume Cantonese, I don't know if the same is true in Japanese, that tone is part of pronunciation. So yeah, you can't just
I don't think tone
you
is
can't
offensive.
anglicize a written Chinese word and possibly say it right if you don't at least attempt to do the way that it actually sounds. I think that's my understanding of how that works.
All right. Well, what does this do for you?
Kuchisabishi. Yeah, kuchisabishi. Kuchisabishi.
Kuchisabishi. That sounds more regular.
Yeah, I didn't know that they did that as much. I mean, I know that they get wild about eating over there, meaning that they eat
That's probably why they have a word
they're still
for
alive and stuff, which is wild. But I didn't know that they did that. I thought that was, I'm not going to say that was I thought that was a uniquely American phenomenon. I certainly thought that us Americans invented that
Yes.
and
Well, that's just
exported
our
it to the
base.
rest of the world, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's actually probably why we don't have a word for it, because it's just how we eat. There's
It's
nothing
just
different
eating
about
here.
it.
It's
And
just
over
dinner
there,
here. Yeah,
it's
right.
just dinner
yeah.
here. And over there, it's so rare that they had to go, oh, that is a unique thing. So they had to have a word for it, right? Because it doesn't just happen a lot. Now, on next to one that I know you've never felt at all, never. This is from the Netherlands. It's Utwaaien. And that is a refreshing emotional release you feel when walking in a strong wind.
What?
Yeah.
No. Why do
And
they
I
need a
get
word
that.
for that?
I get
Although
that.
you said the Netherlands,
Yeah.
they got a fuck ton of wind over there because I know they got that's what they get, windmills. They got a shitload of windmills, wooden shoes, and tulips. That's what I know about the Netherlands. I don't know about you.
Yeah, that's exactly what I know.
Old windmills specifically.
And Horgan Florgan.
And Jorgen Florgen, yeah.
And they pickle shark.
Hold on. I think even Jorgen Florgen to me is a little Netherlands is Dutch is more fucking Johan van der Varken or whatever the fuck.
Okay,
Johan
okay.
van der Vark, that type of shit. Jorgen Florgen is you're going a little further north into the Viking country, Scandinavia, which I'm pretty certain the Netherlands are not a part of.
They're the Asians.
They don't marry
of
the sharks and stuff either. I don't think.
Don't you think that group is the Asians of the whites?
The Dutch?
Yeah, and I say that because
Go
we all just kind of lump them all together and don't really know which one's which, even though
so you're talking about the Scandinavians, not the Dutch.
Either way,
I guess this is to your point.
This is to my point. Is like they're
the Dutch,
all like
to me, the Dutch are more like German, Belgium adjacent,
right?
Than they are the Viking, Jorgen Florgen people. That's how
Dutch,
that's how I think about them. Val do be Dutch. Yes, he is Dutch.
But he don't speak Horgan Florgany, so
he does. Well, for the record, he speaks fluent Dutch.
No, I know he do. I'm saying his accent to us is not like that.
He's also
I know. Of course, I know he speaks fluent Dutch. So here we got one, which I don't know. This is from the Philippines. It's kilig, and it's the fluttery feeling in your chest during romantic moments or unexpected gestures. I guess we would call that butterflies.
Butterflies, yeah. Which, butterflies are just, yeah. I mean, that's just a thing, and it's like saying it feels like having that thing in your stomach. So having an actual word for that is better,
That is a nice thing. That's a good feeling. And like it's you ever get sad that I have it with my kid.
Never.
But But
I think you might be about to say something related to the one I was going to share with you. Keep going.
Okay, so I love my wife. I never want to be with anybody other than my wife. I don't. But I do miss that most of our firsts are already knocked out. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing quite like, and this is going to sound really, really gay, but to me, now that I'm an experienced man, and of course I've had sex plenty of times, but I think the feeling of knowing you're about to kiss for the first time, that, what's the word here? That kilig that takes over your whole body when you know that the person that you've been longing for has finally reciprocated and you're about to kiss, that feeling is the best feeling in the world. And you can't, by definition, ever get it back with the same person.
Brother. Well, first of all, that is adjacent to the Japanese phrase I was going to share. But first, there's always first, man. You watch Bane take his first steps together.
No, I know, but I mean with my wife.
Take him to school. She's I'm saying that's your child with
that don't
her.
do nothing for my dick.
Right. Okay.
It'd be weird if it did.
Yes, your dick has had to hang the cleats up, I guess. There's not many more first left for your dick. I just meant
the rafters.
I guess I wasn't restricting it just to the heart of the dick, the dick's heart. I just meant the regular heart. So fair enough. But anyway, related to that,
Your dick has had to hang its cleats up.
Yeah. The related to that, the Japanese phrase that I had shared on Well Read before, because it's the motto of a band that I like, is "Mano no aware,"
Okay.
and that translates to the sense of nostalgic wistfulness and awareness that nothing lasts forever.
I
So,
get that a lot.
oh, bro, I'm ate up with that. It's one of the
That-
reasons like it stuck out to me so much because like for me getting older and stuff, that I'm just eat all to pieces with that shit all the
Dude,
goddamn time.
like-
I'm hyper aware of that all the time now. So when I say, and I like but the band is called the Midnight. They're a synthwave band, and I liked them before I even knew that was their motto. As soon as I read, because what's also wild about that, and this is why I said on Well Read, so I'll be brief about it. What's wild about that is it's perfect because if you listen to that band's music, they somehow capture
that.
musically that exact emotion or feeling, and I don't know. That's
like
wild as hell
explosions
to
in the
me.
sky type deal.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I've been feeling that when you have a kid, it accelerates like crazy. I mean, it accelerates like crazy. Like
Absolutely.
I was laying there with Bane today, and I'm one thing that I know when I look back on my life, I will have no regrets of is that I spend just the most time with him to my detriment. Like it's affected my career, the amount of time that I just go, fuck it, I'm hanging out with my son. And I don't think I'll ever have any regret. Matter of fact, every piece of advice I ever got before I had the kid was, you're never going to get this back. You can get opportunities later, hang out with him. But we're laying there and we're watching Toy Story and he's holding my hand, right? He's holding my hand. And I remember specifically this thing that happened one time when me and my dad and my family were in Asheville, North Carolina. And I was probably, I don't know, let's say 7 or 8 or something like that. And every time we would cross a street, my dad would put his hand out and I would grab his hand and I would walk across the street, right? And I remember this one specific time, and I guess I'd just gotten older. I was on ball team, so I was an independent little kid. My dad reached out for my hand and I just, not in a hardcore way, but just kind of slapped it away. And I looked at my dad's face, and at the time it didn't mean anything to me, but his face just kind of went like that. And now I've noticed that face of a disappointment, but like my boy's grown. You know what I mean? He can do this or whatever. But it made me, while I was sitting there holding Bane's hand, just realize the finiteness of that moment, and it destroyed me. Like it just destroyed me. And I held his hand even tighter, and I was like, "You're gonna have to be the one that lets this go because I can't." And I also think about like with look, Well Read. We're in Well Read year 10, right? And obviously, we've slowed down production. We don't tour as much together, but we still got the podcast. We're still always working on something. I think that me and you both assume that throughout our careers, though we might not mirror the success of Carl Reiner and Mel Brooks, we will always have a place for each other in anything that we do. But like 10 years, man, 10 years. And like knowing that even if it does keep going, it'll never be like it was. Like even the Nashville, like we love going there, but it's not as much of a party because we're getting older. And like, I know that should be the case. We're maturing, but like, I think about that shit all the time. And it just, man, what's the word for it?
Mano no aware.
God, I meet up with it. Anyway,
Me
sorry,
too.
go ahead.
Me too. No, well, that's it. I mean, that you just, I didn't know we were going to be talking about this. You made me think of that one when you started with the Japanese phrase. So I don't know if you have more on your list.
I do. And this is another Japan one. And this one is specific to me. I read this to Amber and she goes, good God. She's like, I've got to remember that word because that is you. It is tunsudoku. And that is the comforting emotional satisfaction of
It comes
acquiring.
with solving mathematical square-based puzzles, I believe. You know what you said?
Yeah.
Toon Sudoku? You know what you said?
Sudoku. Yeah. The comforting emotional satisfaction of acquiring books you haven't read yet. And boy, is that me. Because I mean, you can look around this room and there's tons that I'm overwhelmed with because in my heart, I'm going to read them all, but I know that there's no way I will, you know, but like I buy books once a week, you know, and I'm not even done with the one I'm currently reading.
Right. So Japan has a word for that. It's obviously a very common phenomenon. I always think about this time because it's just how differently I'm wired with that. I'd love, I'm always reading something. I'm reading a nonfiction book about a 18th century mutiny right now.
Oh yeah,
And
send me a link to that, please. What is it? Plug
it's
it.
called The Wager because the
Yeah.
name of the boat was the HMS Wager. It's a wild fucking story. But
Epic.
anyway, do what?
Is it a true story?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
and I'd heard the mutiny on the Bounty. That's kind of how I came to this because the founding of Pitcairn Island is like a pet, not obsession of mine, but like it's a thing that I've always been super fascinated by. That started with a mutiny, and I knew that, but I'd never heard of the mutiny, the Wager mutiny in the ship. I never knew about any of that, and then I found this book, but it's all real and it all happened, and it's like it's bananas. One of the main characters, one of the main sailors who was part of this shipwreck and this mutiny and stuff and everything in the story is Lord Byron's papa,
Nice.
John Byron, when he was 16 years old and shit.
Like
But
the
anyway,
poet?
yeah, the poet, Lord Byron, yeah. He was always one of my favorites when I was still pretentious enough to
I
be into
brought a
poetry, and I was
book
an
of
English
Lord
major and
Byron
stuff.
poets to read today, and I left it in my car. That's
Really? To
crazy.
read
I
today?
swear
Lord
on my
Byron used
life.
to be my dude.
I'll do it next week.
He was one of my favorites. But
He's great.
But anyway, what the fuck was I talking about?
I'm sorry, the mutiny.
Books. No, I'm always reading a book and everything, but I've switched to, I read them on a fucking iPad or whatever now, because I can carry that with me on the road. It's just simpler to me. And that's all I really care about. So I like books and everything, but I just have such a different, not interpretation. I just feel so differently about that, what you just described and how you're one of those people. I always think about our buddy Elliot Ray Hall when we both still lived in Knoxville.
Hey, shout out to Elliot, live in Minneapolis, and him and his family have been, having to stay in their apartment. So just want to give an extra shout out of love to him. Do what?
I said, I don't know if y'all have heard that are listening, but yeah, shit's wild in Minneapolis, which is where he lives now. But he lived in Knoxville. I met him in Knoxville. We both lived there and did stand up together and stuff. And we used to do shit. We made little sketches and stuff. And I was at his house, I went to his apartment one day to work on one of those things. And I got over there and he had all these books just everywhere.
Yeah.
And I walked in, I looked around and I go, "You read all these books?" Right. And I said it like that. And he started laughing because he thought that was me being like, "What are you, queer? Who reads this many books?" Right. Like that's what he thought I meant. Was like, bro, you like books this much? Fucking watch football. Like that's what he thought I meant. Yeah. But that's not what I meant. What I meant was like, dog, you really read all that. You gotta, because I suspected immediately, like, I don't think you've read all these books. Yeah. So why do you have all these books if you ain't read? That's like what I meant, because that's what my first thought was. And he was like, but I've said again, it's a very common thing. And he was like, he was like you and him share that in common, I guess. But I've always thought, like, I don't know. I don't want to start. I'm not trying to start a fight or nothing. To me, I would feel, I would almost, my neuroses and pathologies that I have, I would feel like fraudulent. I think.
Sure. But I don't.
I had all these books on display and I had not actually read them all.
For the record, most of them are up in my attic, and like I don't have people over at the house, so it's definitely not a look at me type situation. And a lot of them are just laying about. And Amber's the same way. Like Amber's mostly Kindle for sure, and I am too when I travel or whatever. But like, she'll get a physical book for the beach, but then like as soon as she's done with it, she'll give it to a friend or whatever. And she doesn't want her. And by the way, I will do that too. Like I've told you a million times, the book, The Comedians by Cliff Nesterhoff.
Love it.
Every time I see it, without fail, I buy it again so that I can give it to someone, because that's how much I love that book. So right now I have 3 or 4 copies of that just ready to take on a trip to be like, hey, I think you'll enjoy this. But for me, it's sort of like I mentioned on here about how like I dress by mood. So if I'm traveling, I don't know what I'm going to feel like wearing tomorrow. So I'll give myself a couple options. What I like about it is like, sure, I might not want to read this book right now, but it's there, and who knows when I'm going to be in that mood. Because sometimes that's how I'll start a book, is like I'll just be walking by my shelf and something will catch my eye, or like you'll bring something up and I'll be like, oh my God, I've got a book on that, and I can immediately go to it. And also another thing is I want, and because my tastes are varied, there's books on everything. I want Bane to grow up and always be able to reach for one, and I like the idea of having that library of like, hey, you don't know what he's going to be into. He might walk past and be like, wow, I would like to know about this Marie Antoinette gal. This sounds interesting. But also, it's the smell. They smell so good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, here's
that
another
all
one.
checks out. I just feel like there's like two types of people, because I was on a Zoom the other day with Callie Corey, the legend, and she was on the Zoom. Behind her was a big bookcase with all kinds of books, and one of the other people on the Zoom asked her, almost like they could not ask. They were like, "You actually read all those books?" So I think there's like, I just think there's two types of people. There's like you and Callie's, and then there's me or whatever.
Yeah. No, I would never assume.
And I'm the annoying type.
I would never assume that somebody had read all those books. I just like, and I grew up in a house that it had a little built-in library in it, and it was like, you just displayed your books. You just put your books out, and I think that too, though, that comes from an old time of like. Back in the day, you would have your library there, and it wasn't just for you, it was for guests. It was like, hey, people are going to be over and we don't have TV or whatever, and we're going to have some downtime. So there's this large collection I have. Feel free to borrow, lend, whatever you got to do. And I enjoy that. I'll do one more, and then we can go on to one of your things. To Bernie, this is Arabic. An expression of love meaning you bury me, wishing to die before your beloved because living without them would be unbearable. I don't have that.
You bury me?
Yeah, you bury me. Like, in other words,
also
like
espoused by renowned poet and soothsayer Jared Leto, I think, in his opus, The Kill, the song The Kill by 30 Seconds to Mars. Now, the chorus of that song is just him screaming, bury me. Bury me. Yeah. So, what's your honest opinion of that song, that one song?
When it came out, I was probably of an age where I didn't mind it. And I do remember at the time being like, oh, he's an actor and a singer. That's neat. Like, what a multi-talented person. But I would have never sought that song out. It would have been playing on Rock 105 by, rest in peace, Boner, our favorite DJ for many reasons. And I'm certain that I didn't care one way or the other for it. I'm not
okay. Because for me, that song is the very definition, the platonic ideal for me of a guilty pleasure. Because I kind of hate how much I've always liked that. I mean,
song. I don't think
it's a butt rock anthem from that era, and I love that era and genre of music. It's all kind of a guilty pleasure to me. We've talked that to death, and I know you fully agree on shit like Creed and those. And
yeah, for sure,
that type of thing. And I don't otherwise fuck with 30 Seconds to Mars, but that one song to me is like really emblematic of that era and genre of music that I know doesn't have maybe the most lasting artistic value, but just hit for me real hard at the time, and thus it still does, even though I have developed a profound distaste for Jared Leto over the years.
I'll say this: if you put
that
it on,
song, no, still does it for me.
If you put it on the Going Ham playlist, then I will acquire the taste for it again, because there are some songs on there that you put on there that like I hadn't heard in a very, very long time, and was like, wow, what a newfound appreciation I have for this banger.
Read that again though, if you don't care. The phrase, the translation. You bury me, meaning what?
Hold on just a second. Let me go back to the let's see. It is to Bernie. It's Arabic. TU''BURNI. An expression of love meaning you bury me, wishing to die before your beloved because living without them would be unbearable. In other words, you say, hey, you're the one that's going to bury me, not the other way around.
Yeah, makes sense. That I feel like that's kind of the underlying premise of the now at least somewhat awkward Jason Isbell song, If We Were Vampires.
Yes. Yes.
Right. Because
Yes.
that's kind
Man.
of the premise. That song's like, if we were vampires, it'd all be a lark and everything would be great because we'd live forever. But unfortunately, we're not.
Yeah.
And one of us has to die, and that means
God.
the other one has to live alone, and that's unbearable to think about. And it was just, love song that just touched the hearts of so many people. Me and you were accidentally ahead of the curve on not feeling exactly the same way about that song, because as soon as we heard it, we imagined a hypothetical music video where me and you are a like gay couple in like dollar store vampire outfits, like big white plastic vampire teeth and stupid capes and stuff, like at bistros in France, and like dancing together and fucking doing all this, super gay shit in black and white and slow motion. It's a very sweet song, but we're wearing these stupid fucking outfits. I think we were very high when we thought of that, but
I still think it plays
every time from that moment. That just completely ruined that song. For one of the sweetest songs Isbell ever wrote, and it just ruined it for me from that point forward. Because and I saw him live multiple times after that, and he'd play it. You could hear it pin drop in that room, and I'd be having to sit there trying not to laugh because in my head, I just
you're thinking about
me
butt fucking you.
It's always obviously it's me butt fucking you.
Butt fucking me, yeah, that's
obviously,
fine. You know what? What though? The more that I think about it, like we always think like, oh yeah, that's the best position to be the one doing the butt fucking. But the
Probably
male
not.
G spot is in the asshole, and I'd still get to jack off.
There's definitely something to it. I could also jack you. I'll be at least owe you the courtesy of a reach around. Corey, come on.
If you're gonna jack me off, too,
not
then
I'm fucking monster. But Isbell, that song, like I said, the now at least somewhat awkward, because obviously the woman who wrote the song about, they are now divorced very famously.
So many of his songs are like that now. Like, how do you play Cover Me Up anymore? Do you think that what's your opinion on that artistically? Like, does that actually change those songs now in retrospect? Or is it like the song doesn't change no matter what happened later, because it was still written in a time and place where it was true, and it's true for other people. That's why they loved it so much. And whatever happens with him doesn't make it less true for those people. Or do you think like, nah, I don't know, it feels different when you listen to it now? If you know the real story, like what team are you on with that? So normally, now I know, and you do too, Jason personally.
Yes.
Which does make it a little different to me, because I like, it's easy for me to separate the art from the artist of somebody I don't know, because to me, they are just the artist. And there's part of it that like, you don't even feel like those are real people. You know what I mean? But I know he's a real person. He was there when I got engaged. He said some of the kindest things about me on the internet that I will never forget. I actually want to have one framed in my house. Somebody had called me a cuck on the internet, and I responded back to it like, oh, sure, I'm a cuck. And Isbell retweeted it and said, Corey, I have to tell you, you are a cuck. And he put it in all big letters, a criminally underrated comedic king. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my God, that's my shit. But like, I've always thought too, I agree with some, like David Lynch will say this, like, he's like, once I make it, and it's out there.
That's it.
That's it. And it's
not mine anymore.
It's not mine anymore. It's yours.
Right.
It's yours. And there's part of me that really believes that, like, for better or worse, like you have to accept the fact that some people are going to interpret it in a way that, man, not only do you not agree with, not only is that not what you meant, but you don't agree with that morally or whatever, but you have to accept that things are written to be. But you know what though? I can still listen to those George Jones songs knowing that he beat the shit out of Tammy and knowing that he was a bad husband. You know what I mean? So like,
to be clear, I asked you and didn't answer it myself. I'm more in the, I don't really feel any differently about.
I never thought about her in that
when I listen. That's what I'm saying. So I'm in the camp of like, it don't really change nothing for me,
because you know what?
I just feel like there are a lot of people probably who,
but it's still true.
I don't know.
Like, it's still true. It's like,
I know
they are divorced now, but they loved each other then. They love I
know that's what I meant when I was saying like, it doesn't change what it was in the moment and what inspired it and everything.
it's not just a love song, it's a recovery song. Like it's a recovery song
It's
about
almost
sobriety.
more of a
And
recovery song.
exactly. And like, regardless of how their relationship is now, and regardless of whether they're divorced, she absolutely saved him from alcoholism. And that song came of that. And so, no, to me, that doesn't change it at all. But again, once a song gets out there, you're just, it just makes sense. It's just a good fucking song. You know what I mean? And again, you can just think about it as if it's not them. As Jason Isbell famously said, the thing that changed his mind on songwriting forever was when he was listening to John Prine and he goes, wait, he's not an old woman, named after his mother. That's a character. That's a whatever. And so like, no, not to me.
Right. I know. And again, I'm on that page too, but I do wonder, like, for him.
Oh, for him, it's definitely different. It has to be.
Right. Because, like, he does do something like Elephant, great song of his, that's not from his perspective. But a lot of his, like Cover Me Up and like If We Were Vampires, a lot of his biggest songs, they definitely are like from his perspective.
Dude,
and everything.
When they did that song live, Amanda got in the middle and he sang it to her while she played the fiddle. Like, it's very clear.
Yeah, right.
Like, that's what I like. That song, that has to be difficult for him to play live now. And I bet for the audience, they are definitely thinking it a little
about
different.
it.
They're thinking about it. It's the elephant.
I wonder if it even is still.
I don't know.
Playing.
I would say not.
Yeah.
I'm certain that there's people out here listening to this show that manage a crew, construction, HVAC, landscapers, whatever. You already know. When your guys pay for gas and materials, it causes all types of issues. Your cards get borrowed and the trucks fuel up when they're parked in the yard and your accountant is chasing you for the receipts. And at the end of the month, Coast Pay fixes all that. That's right. I'm talking about Coast Pay. It's really going to help you when you're running a business. When you got crews on the road, you don't have time for games. You need to know who's buying what, where, and why. And Coast Pay is built for businesses like yours and finally gives you the control your old fuel card never did. Okay. Coast Pay is the new modern fuel card and expense management tool built for fleets. This isn't software built by someone who's never run a crew. Okay, this is fuel maintenance materials, and they're all now on one card with real control and instant visibility. Set real-time spending limits for every driver or vehicle, fuel only, fuel and materials, certain days or certain hours. You decide, and Coast enforces it. You see every single transaction the moment it happens. No more end-of-month surprises. If someone tries to fill up at an odd time or buy something outside their limit, you gonna know instantly. It's got fraud protection, actually works on Coast. No shared pins, no missing receipts, no guessing. Employees check in by text. Coast verifies the purchase, and you stay in control. Unlike old fuel cards, Coast works everywhere. Visa is accepted, which last time I checked is everywhere. Okay? No contracts, no commitments, just a smarter, simpler way to keep your operations tight and your crews moving. Right now, Coast Pay is offering our listeners free gas for a day when you get started at coastpay.com/POA. Go to coastpay.com/POA to get free gas for a whole day. Terms apply. That's coastpay.com/POA. The Coast Visa commercial credit card is issued by Celtic Bank. All cards, accounts subject to credit approval.
Tell you what don't hit, paying rent. Even though Tupac famously said, I love paying rent when the rent's due, and I get the sentiment behind that. It's nice to be able to pay rent, but still having to pay, just rent don't hit. Nobody likes
rent don't hit.
Rent don't hit, but Built, this week's sponsor, Built, B-I-L-T, Built, makes it feel at least a little bit better. Built is the loyalty program for renters that rewards you monthly with points and exclusive benefits where you live and with your interest. All right, let me explain. So, we live in an era of points. I'm a big points guy. I didn't used to be. That's one of the things as a trash trailer baby from rural Tennessee, I did not understand points, loyalty.
You had Marlboro points.
That is, you know what? That's a good point. My mama cat, rest her soul, she had Marlboro points for that, Marlboro miles, excuse me.
Right.
For days.
Excuse me.
I
Which
had
I'm
all
sure
the,
she went many miles.
I had all the finest Marlboro swag that I wore to, elementary and middle school.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. But you're right. But still, as an adult, I didn't, but then I got into the points game, and now I couldn't live without it. You got to have points. You're going to be spending money. You got to have points, because you got to get your rewards back. You got to get something out of all this money you spend. And, there's points programs for everything. But until Built, not for rent, but enter Built. They figured it out with Built. Every rent payment you make earns you points that you can use toward flights, hotels, Lyft rides, Amazon purchases, so many more things. All right. And here's something we're really excited about. Starting in February, which is now, we're in February now, Built members can earn points on mortgage payments for the first time. So however you paying to live, Built's got you covered with points. Soon you'll be able to get rewarded wherever you live and unlock exclusive benefits with more than 45,000 restaurants, fitness studios, pharmacies, and other neighborhood partners all over the damn place. So me, I fly all the time. Of course, those are write-offs for me, the work trips. And when I take a family trip, I only use points. So use the points toward flights, hotels, pay for a nice little vacation for you and the fam, and try to get as much of that for free as possible using your points. That's what I would try to do. But you can do whatever you want. You can use it at the bar studio, or maybe even just a bar and grill, whatever. It's up to you. It's simple. Paying rent is better with Built. And soon owning a home is going to be better with Built too. Earn rewards and get something back wherever you live. Join the loyalty program for renters and buyers at joinbuilt.com/POA. That's joinbilt.com/POA. Make sure to use that URL so they know that we sent you. Airhead, start getting points on your rent and or mortgage with Built. Oh, well.
What you got, buddy?
Oh, not much. Here's what I wrote in my notes. Polynesian's wild. So
Sure is. Great sauce.
Best we could do. Yeah, I meant the people.
Oh, yeah.
We've
Well,
talked
they
about
make
a
a
lot of
great
different
sauce.
races of people on this episode, but yeah, you bet just leave it at that. No, Polynesians, they're wild. You ever think about them? They are wild though.
And
All
one
them-
just won the Royal Rumble.
Roman Reigns.
Roman Reigns, yeah. Roman Reigns won the Royal Rumble. I got to watch it on a big screen and commentate it. It was awesome.
But dude, the island, all them islands. So Pitcairn Island came up earlier, and the Mutiny on the Bounty and all this stuff. Where all this comes from for me, I don't know if you ever do this. Laying in hotel rooms on the road in between episodes of Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives or whatever the fuck. One thing I started doing at some point is I'll pull out Google Maps, right? I'll zoom all the way out, and I'll just sort of flick my finger around until like a random place on the earth. And then I'll zoom in and try to find like, so like the middle of the fucking ocean where there appears to be nothing, and zoom in and scan around until I see an island, and then zoom in on that island. And it's like, are there people on this island? Is there a town or a city or whatever? And then
Who's fucking here?
And then there are. And then I'm like, I ain't never heard of this place in my life. It's so remote. It's so isolated. I'm so fascinated by that. It's not just islands. It's also the extreme far north, like set in the Arctic Circle and stuff.
Crazy.
Anywhere that's crazy isolated, and there are like communities there. Utter fascination for me. But so in looking at all these different like islands and shit, it occurred to me one day, I was like, wait a minute, how is there people there? Because at first, without really even thinking about it, and believe me when I say I didn't really think about it because I know how stupid this is, but I was just like, yeah, well, there was probably just like the forebears of people there before all the islands split off from each other. And then but no, that's insane. It makes no sense. Like Pangea and all that was like so long before Homo sapiens.
Right.
So like, how did they get there? Right. And it's just, boats, but like, bro, fucking 20,000 years ago boats, and these expanses of space of waters are hard to fathom, no pun intended.
Right.
Thousands of nautical miles with nothing, and not in like big galleons with sails and shit. Like no compasses, no fucking GPS, none of that stuff. And they it's not like they did that a timer. It's not like there was one big group of Polynesians and they were like, fuck this, we're out. And they left on a boat and then Hawaii happened. Like that did happen, but it's every fucking island out there. Not literally all of them, but almost all of them. So it's like they just kept doing that over and over for generations, and they found pert near every goddamn island in that, grand aquatic expanse like eons ago. And that shit's that's insane, in my opinion, to think about. I feel like people don't. I feel like that's the thing people don't talk about enough.
They
to me,
don't.
I feel like that's the type of thing that should be brought up frequently. It's like, do y'all realize how fucking crazy this is? Because also that book I'm reading, The Wager,
also makes you a hell of a pulling guard too, if you can pull that off.
Evidently, there's that too. Yeah, they obviously they big, they strong, but they are hardy people. So that definitely
and
goes
the
into
coolest tattooed people on earth. No tattoo looks cooler than on one of them.
Yeah, they rock fucking tattoos. But reading this book about 18th century, sailing, maritime shit, water business, right?
Yeah.
In the 18th century, I never thought about, I know it's no small thing to fucking drive a boat around the world. I know, especially 200 years ago. I know that ain't simple, but I did not know until reading this book. I never really thought about it, had an appreciation for, like, bro, it's fucking, the ocean wants to kill you, dog.
Yeah,
like,
dude.
It is hard. It is so hard. And I'm saying these people was doing it with far less developed like human technology, because it was 10, 20,000 years before all that, and greater expanses of water and stuff. And it's just wild. And to say nothing of the nugget sauce that they created eventually. Like you said.
Unbelievable, dude.
So,
also, can I tell you, I one time I made biscuits, and I made the mistake of not checking to see if I had jelly for the biscuits, and I didn't. And instead, I had a package of Polynesian sauce from Chick-fil-A, and I added that to the biscuit. Absolute gas. It was amazing. Okay, on the note of they all individually found these islands or whatever, is it possible, though, that a huge group of them went to one island and then realized this island ain't the big enough for both of us, go over to that island?
Yeah, probably. But dude, go over to what island?
Yeah, right.
They don't, again, it's, you can't see it. That's part of what I'm saying. They're so far apart. Like, yeah, probably a bunch of them left. They're like, we're going to call this Fiji. This hits. And then like 2 weeks later, it's like, fuck you, Tanuk, or whatever. Like, you don't hit for me. And then then another, like, we're fucking leaving. And then they just bounce and then happen to find Guam all the way to fuck over there later. Like, I don't know. I mean, I know part of it was like looking for birds and shit, because birds, they can't be too far from land generally. Right. So, but still though, dude, it's so much of it, they couldn't have known. I mean, I understand that even then they could use the stars and stuff like that for like wayfinding and some form of navigation, but to where? Like,
to where? Right.
What they don't know mean? Why go that way. You don't know what's that way.
I mean, I guess you just go with however the current's going and pray.
So this says per Wikipedia, they also understood waves and swells and how they worked. Many habitable areas of the Pacific Ocean are made of groups of islands in chains hundreds of kilometers long. Island chains have predictable effects on waves and currents. Navigators who lived within a group of islands would learn the effect various islands had on the shape and direction and motion of the swells of the waves, and would have been able to chart their path accordingly. Even when they arrived in the vicinity of an unfamiliar chain of islands, they may have been able to detect signs similar to those of their home. So, simple as, isn't it?
yeah, simple as. Bob's your uncle. Okay, does it say how many of them were that got over there?
No, I don't know that, but I just said they'd use birds. Apparently they would carry birds with them on these trips that couldn't land on water. If they let the birds go and they never came back, land was near. So
Okay.
if they let that, I mean, that's smart, you know,
That
if
is
they let them
smart.
go and the
That's
birds
like an
came
area
back,
coal mine situation.
you know, uh, and dude, again, I just can't stress enough. At this point in time, they don't know what they're on. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
They don't know this is the whole world islands. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
And is it going to hit
how
when we
big
get
is it?
there?
Yeah, like any of that. They didn't know none of that,
Is
dude.
King Kong there?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
because dude,
Like,
these people still do, which I'm fine with, obviously, but like they believe in like monster gods and like fucking all that shit. Like they had to be expecting krakens and stuff like that. And then, but my thing is though, when they get over there, there's not that many of them because so many of them would have just been took by the sea. Like as you said, the sea is an
yeah.
unforgiving thing. So they get over there, right? Well, they're all having to fuck each other. So there's a huge amount of incestuous activity. And I say that because back in the day, people were so much more what's the term? Homogenized. Like you lived in your hamlet and you didn't leave your hamlet, right? So like all the dumb people we hear about through history were just incestuous dumbasses whose father and brothers was kids. But that's how it had to happen for so long before we eventually spread out to where there was enough people that technically they would have still been related to you, but they were like your fifth cousin and you can fuck them and your genetics won't be fucked up that bad. But I guess my point is like, how did we ever get past that? Like sometimes the parents would fuck and the kids just somehow hit. Like it was like a Lannister situation.
I mean, if you're talking about like from the very beginning, you know, Adam and Eve in the garden.
Sure, the truth is what I'm
Yeah,
asking.
the truth. Yeah, I don't know, but even right, even putting aside the Bible, well, I don't think I know that like very, very early on, it wasn't just Homo sapiens. We've talked about this before, I think, but Homo sapiens, the
There were, like,
versions of
two
people
other-
that
yeah.
we are more than two.
Yeah.
There was like a bunch actually for a
Ain't
while.
that crazy as
and we
fuck to think about?
We like, you know, out fucked and out killed and out just survived all of them, and we're the last ones left. But initially, so I'm saying there was definitely like some crossbreeding and that type of thing with some of those.
And that's why some
and
people
like,
look like Cro-Magnons.
yeah, I mean, 23andMe will tell you how much Neanderthal blood you have, I reckon.
Right.
But like, so meaning it's like it wasn't just one family of Homo sapiens to start with. You know, they emerged in like groups from. But I'm already very much out of my depth. But I'm saying, if even with like Polynesians, by the time that they were setting out, sallying forth on these aquatic adventures and everything, I think that there was probably enough of I'm sure there was enough of them in each group, each like founding group, to not just have to fuck your sister.
Right.
I don't think that.
Right.
I don't think it's funny you say that because Pitcairn Island, which I brought up, and at the outset of all this, it's like a huge thing there, incest and everything. But or at least it has been over the years. But I think there was enough Polynesians and stuff back in the day that they, could avoid just sister fucking if they didn't want to. But also, I found out another thing. So they'd bring the birds with them. They knew how the waves worked. Another thing was they understood cloud formations, the way that islands,
like Sirius and Cumulus and all that.
just different. If there's clouds that form out in the middle of the ocean, but over land,
Right.
like apparently look different and are different types of clouds than otherwise. So they could spot like certain types of clouds from crazy far away and be like, they got to be land over that way somewhere. And then
Why
they
would
go
that
check
be?
it out.
Because of like a magnetic pull or like the electricity
Bro,
of like
I am very cloud dumb. I don't think it's magnets, but
yeah, I meant the magnetic pull of like, I don't know, gravity of like the Earth having more mass than water. Like I don't know.
I think it's like a humidity thing and that type of stuff. It's affected by, but I don't know.
Okay, so with these Cro-Magnons or whatever, the first peoples, where there was like a bunch of different groups of things that looked just like us, but were technically different species, and like we won out, right? And then now going forth into the like, what is the next evolution of human beings? And some people say autism or whatever, yada yada yada. Hear me out here. What if that's aliens? Like, what if we were the natural people that were supposed to be here on Earth, and those other ones or we're the fucking aliens. Those were the people that were living here, and then we show up because we're like, oh, this planet is inhabitable for us. These people are very similar, and then we just fucking wrecked all their shit and made this our home planet, right? But the some of them lived on and retreated, and then they had kids of their own, but they didn't look enough different to where, and there wasn't like fucking cave ice going around being like, show me your tablets with all your stuff on it. And enough of those people lived, and then they assimilated with us to create whatever our current race is. And those are aliens, and we have aliens living amongst us, and all the bullshit that's happening in the world is our mothership attempting to try to come back and save us from all this, but we ourselves don't know that we've been the aliens the entire time.
So I know that last week you were very stoned. Are you also very high right now?
Ripped. Yeah.
There's been people, you know, be like, what if we are the aliens? What if we were like deposited here, essentially? That's actually like the premise, or not the whole premise, but part of the premise of like Prometheus and the alien mythos and stuff, was that these
movie hit for you?
Advanced alien race, the engineers, like seeded human life on Earth. I mean, look, there's some cool shit in it, but no, not really.
Fassbender hit.
Oh, he was great. I said there is cool shit in it, but it's just like there's also a lot of like.
I just know how you are with the franchise. You know,
I love the franchise, but
right.
I still, the movies that you know, guess I'm a basic bitch as with most things, but I'm pretty much with the consensus. Like, I love the franchise deeply, but the movies that most people are like, yeah, these ain't really it, I mostly agree. The only real exception, and Alien Resurrection, I always thought is better than people act like it is, but it came out when I was like 13 or 14. And I was like, this shit rocks. But anyway, also there's a name for the idea that not humans, but life, period, was seeded here from outer space, and it's called panspermia is the name.
Okay,
of that.
That's also a god thing.
That's also a god thing.
I'm saying that would be like, religious people would look at that and go, yeah, exactly, God put us here. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, that would
but
be
the science version
God.
is whatever aliens that, you know, sent a fucking life rock and smashed it into Earth or whatever, and then
Kurt Russell did
billions of years later,
the Galaxy too.
Right, and then billions of years later, Hawaii happened or whatever.
But I'm not entirely convinced this is not true, because like, I see like what we perceive as lizard people, you know, which we've then found out that that's a racial slur for Jews, but I've never meant it that way. Like, I think Elon Musk is a lizard person, and he's about as far from a Jew as you can get, right? But you look at dudes like Elon Musk.
He would thank you for that characterization.
He certainly would. He would give me a very stilted 45-degree angle high five.
Yeah.
But people like Elon Musk and Peter Thiel, there's just something about him when you look at him that's like uncanny valley. You know what I mean? Like, both of those guys look like in Men in Black when Vincent D'Onofrio was wearing the Edgar suit. You know what I mean? And what if that is why Peter Thiel is setting up the Palantir or whatever, because he is the one that was sent to recapture the alien species that landed here billions of years ago. And he's been sitting up there just, you know, biding his time, because I'm certain that time isn't linear for those people. It's spatial, which actually, isn't it actually spatial for us too? We just don't perceive it that way.
Oh shit, I don't know. Well, I mean, I know that space time is one thing,
Yeah.
but I don't know what you mean by. I mean, I get that we experience
Well,
time linearly, but when you say, "Oh, it's
but
actually spatial for us too," we just don't experience it that way. I don't know what you're
Well,
saying.
I think Einstein posited that like the only reason that we perceive time as linear is because that's how we set it. We had to set it up to like consider how the day passed and to make appointments and to celebrate anniversary. Like that just works for us as a productivity tool. But in realistically, that's not actually how it happens. And that it's the three body problem or whatever. It's like the human mind can't wrap their head around it, but the past, present, and the future are all in some way fixed and happening concurrently, right? And this is Einstein saying this. Obviously, this is theory, it can't be proved, and we can't physically, like, we just can't experience it ourselves. But I've always thought that sort of would be a pretty good explanation for deja vu.
Yeah, that is the premise of then I never know how is it
Frequency.
Dennis Villeneuve or
Uh,
Denis Villeneuve or however
I say Dennis Villeneuve.
yeah, he hits for me very hard. But that guy, who is he, French Canadian or is he just Canadian? Anyway,
He's
whatever. He's
something.
great. His movie Arrival, which
Yeah.
is based on a very
Yes.
famous sci-fi short story.
That movie got ruined for us because we forgot to call.
I've always felt like that in a weird way enhanced it because we didn't
We missed the
know.
thing.
Yeah, but then you find out at the end of it, and I was kind of like, I was like, oh shit, because I didn't know because we had missed the setup, but
Right.
I never missed it or felt lost though, is what I'm
Right.
saying.
I did, but
Anyway,
I was an idiot.
the part of the premise of that movie is that the aliens in that movie and in that story that they experience time the way that you're saying,
Right.
and they give Amy Adams's character the capacity to do so as well. And that was always so like that's a thing that sci-fi authors and physicists and stuff have posited. That like you said, it might Einstein or whatever, it might be the actual case, but that's one of those things that definitely I can't. It's just real hard for me to wrap my head around. And I
Well,
know
me
that like
too.
coming up with fucking lunchtime and 6 o'clock and stuff is obviously just made up by people, but as a way to like put a framework on this thing that we all experience. But the sun be rising, the sun be setting. You do get older every day.
Right.
Like I'm not saying
But
that
is it
isn't a
time that makes
possibility,
you
but
older or experience?
our species, I think just does experience time linearly regardless, because I can't wrap my head around any other way of looking at it.
Yeah, sure.
So
But don't you think though that would explain deja vu because you actually had been there before?
yeah, but then it's a question of like, okay, that is the way space-time actually like exists objectively, but we don't experience it that way. But if we don't perceive it that way, then have you actually been there before? Even if that is the way space-time works, if that's not how
Right.
your brain interprets it, I don't fucking know.
I've always with deja vu has freaked me out my whole life because I've had some just insanely specific ones that stopped me in my tracks. Like I had to stop for a second and go, I know for a fact I've been here, but I also know for a fact that there's no reason I would have been. You know what I mean? So it's happened, and I've either thought that is okay, time is truly spatial, and every now and then we haven't evolved to the point where we can control it, but every now and then something synapses in our brain and gives us what's really going on. It's like the glasses were put down for a second. But also, I've always thought, well, it could explain string theory too, which is the infinite parallel universe situation. And
Mhm.
what you're doing is for a brief second, a time loop or wormhole has happened that you've stepped through, and you briefly crossed bodies with the version of you who had done that thing.
Right. Yeah. Well, we're getting into some wild shit now, and part of it comes from drugs, but to push or to add to that, I've said this publicly before. When I in my late 30s, I just got just smacked upside the head, run over by the fucking anxiety truck out of
For sure.
nowhere.
Me too.
So I had a hardcore anxiety when I'd never experienced it in my life before. And I was like, well, I can't, this is unacceptable. So I started doing a bunch of shit, ultimately, even including like doctor prescribed ketamine therapy, which I'm, anecdotal. I don't know if it's a coincidence, placebo effect or what. I don't know. All I'm saying is I did it and my shit was better after I did it. That's all I can tell people. So, but one of those times I like full on K-hole situation. And it's all very cliche and very stereotypical and very like, fucking what, bro? Whoa, dude. But it really was like that. And what I mean was, it was like ego death. I was separated from my body.
Yeah.
I was a point of consciousness in the infinite expanse of existence and all this stuff. Like, it felt like that. And for me, and I've often wondered, is it just because I only did it that one time? Like, part of me is like, I should do it more, because part of it for me was that this feeling, especially when I came back, this feeling of like having been so close to like piercing the veil, to like actually to being in the fucking cave and being able to turn around and not just see the shadows on the wall or whatever. And but I didn't get all the way there.
Right.
But I bet there's a language that's got a word for that feeling. Because I wonder if that feeling is just one of the effects of doing psychedelics or whatever. It's just that, but like, it was definitely part of it for me. And when you were in it though, and being just a point of consciousness with no body and everything, it was also this sense of like, this is what everything really looks like, or this is what everything really is. The physical world is just a perception that we have or whatever, not, all that type of shit. So I don't fucking know, but either way, it did. If it didn't help with my anxiety, it coincided, with my anxiety calming down at the very least. So shout out to ketamine for that. Your mileage may vary, but yeah, sometimes I'm definitely open to a lot of that stuff. All that's, like I said, sort of Plato's cave type shit. What is reality? What is consciousness? I've talked about a ton, the idea of consciousness and the fact that we don't understand it, what it really is, and all that, the sense of self and all kinds of fucking things. I can really go down mental rabbit holes with a lot of that stuff, but I say we don't.
Well, maybe we'll do that next week.
Yeah, okay.
Because I do have another thing to add, but I won't do it right now. We'll wrap this up, and I've got some good airmail. Remember, you can email us at puttinonairs@gmail.com. This is from Chelsea from Minneapolis, whose balls might be trying to kill her. Hello, Professor Cho. I cannot thank you enough for your video. It made me tear up at times and laugh at others. Oh, I made a cameo for This is Chelsea. Okay, same person, right on. And it was the pick-me-up that I needed. I thought I'd take a minute to let you know how the Skuniverse has been a part of my roommate Cindy and I's life for a while now. It all started during COVID when we were sent to work from home without notice, and I had to create a home office within 24 hours out of the spare bedroom. We were stressed out about world events, tired from long hours of office work, and my mom had just been diagnosed with glioblastoma, multiform. Shitty times, eh? One afternoon, we were bored out of our minds during lockdown, and for the life of me, I can't remember how, stumbled upon Through the Screen Door. We hadn't laughed that hard in God knows how long. For those of you that don't know, Through the Screen Door was an old podcast project I did during COVID. We hadn't laughed that long in God knows how long. Why don't you, this is in quotes, why don't you fuck Jimmy? We all know you want to. Lois Lane comment, followed by the infamous Matt Coons reply, Lois, I died. We did a bunch of pop culture stuff. Did you die because I died? Then there was a reference to the city in which we both live that had us in tears with laughter about the random ass bullshit makes no goddamn sense roundabout in Rochester, Minnesota, when referencing a time you had all done stand-up at Goonies. We all hate that fucking thing. It still makes absolutely no sense in terms of location. And yes, you aptly described it as feeling as though you were doing NASCAR loop in front of the BP. Then we stumbled upon the Well Read podcast while beginning the rabbit hole journey, as it were. At the time, if I remember correctly, Well Read and Skews podcasts were lumped together for a while. And that's also how we discovered what is now beloved in our household, Weekly Skews, with Trae Crowder and Smart Mark Agee. During my mom's chemo treatments, I had played her Weekly Skews to cheer her up.
Hilarious.
That's so goddamn.
You are in a bad place if Weekly Skews cheers you up. If Mark Agee is your weekly dose of sunshine, you are in the depths of the abyss.
Oh my God. During my mom's chemo treatments, I had played her Weekly Skews to cheer her up as she was very politically in tune and came from the era of enjoying Keith Olbermann's Worst Person in the World segment. I got her tablet after she died, and two things made me tear up and smile when I tried to use it for the first time. One, the password is my name, and I had no clue. Two, Weekly Skews was in her podcast library. That woman never flinched, not once, throughout all of it. I wish I was built that way. Things just kept going from there. I was diagnosed with stage 4 endometriosis, and after the Dobbs decision had just been struck down, I was not allowed to have a hysterectomy because I hadn't had a baby. Fuck all of that with a splintered wooden spoon with no lube. Yeah, did you know this? Apparently, if you hadn't had a baby, they won't give you a hysterectomy because they're like, but she could have one.
Yeah, that's so fucking wild,
That's
dude.
the craziest shit ever. I had a very large surgery as a result. I lost a part of my colon, a part of my bladder, a part of my diaphragm, and both tubes that were riddled with disease. But hey, that comes from Ninja Turtle level nuclear waste of womb, right? Am I right? Before that surgery, the Well Read Tour had come to Minneapolis in the wintertime. Seriously, what the fuck is wrong with you boys? Are you going to do a polar plunge next before looking at what it is? That's like me going to Georgia in August and expecting not to sweat out of my asshole. Well, for the record, we do the shows indoors. Mom wasn't well enough to go, but Cindy and I did, and I had a great time before gearing up for my first battle. The planned 6-hour surgery turned into 10 and a half hours and a shithole of a recovery. Dad thought it was a good idea to play Bill Burr while I was recovering, and let me tell you, laughing after abdominal surgery ain't it, as the young kids say. I'm 40. Anyone younger than me, even by 6 months, is a goddamn kid now. However, it would be pretty damn funny to see how I react to Professor Cho on morphine this time around, so it'll be worth it. In a way, Cindy and I feel like by extension, we have a new friend. We cheered all three of you on during new podcasts, squirrel fights, sorry Trae, squirrels can feel, announcements of children, etc. It touched our hearts to hear you say you're rooting for me. Well, buddy, we're rooting for you, always. Being Polish, I don't feel comfortable asking for or accepting gifts very often, but if you truly would like to send me some laughter, I wouldn't turn it away. Also, Cindy and I talked about it, but we swear on my mom and her dear departed husband that we will never leak, share, or publish anything that isn't public. I had mentioned to her that I was going to send her my special as a to make her feel better. Yada, yada, yada. I work at the Mayo Clinic in a lab, so it's been tough lately. I was almost late to a pre-op appointment because fucking ICE was checking cars across the street from the entrance, which sickens me to my core. Minneapolis has been crazy lately, but we will not budge. We're Northerners. ICE runs in our veins, not in our fucking streets. Thank you so much for your kind words. Truly, it puts a little pep in my step as I'm off to work. With Minnesota love and hot dish, Chelsea Heilisher. P.S. It's pronounced Jodviga. I messed that up. She was a badass who they made their king, so her husband couldn't say shit. Here's a picture of us right here, Trae, as you can see.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, P.S. Tell Trae I love him so much. I love your podcast. You boys really get me through some of the worst times, and I know you do for others, so thank you for all you do.
Well, that was very sweet. All the best to you, and with the maladies, physical and otherwise, and recovery and all that. But thank you. It's very, very kind.
Absolutely.
Also, good luck up there in Minneapolis.
Absolutely. Trae, where are you going to be?
I will be in Birmingham and Atlanta. I mean, apparently this new club in Atlanta it's in like Alpharetta or somewhere like that.
Yeah,
which is like
I've
people-
performed there. It's
thought-
not Atlanta.
yeah, about to say people are not loving the location as I understand it, but hopefully, still
Everywhere in
it'll be
Atlanta is
fun.
an hour from Atlanta. Hell,
Right. Yeah. So anyway, Birmingham and Atlanta, and then in Denver and Steamboat Springs in March, and a bunch of other places, all at TraeCrowder.com. So check it out and come see me, please.
February 15th, me and Drew Morgan and Mike Cooley of the Drive-By Truckers are going to be at Hendershots in Athens. Grab those tickets. Also, I'm going to be at the Punchline in Atlanta on March the 29th. But please, this is all I ask from you. If I've made you laugh over the years, subscribe to my newsletter at CoreyWritesForYou.com. That's my Substack. I post every day, whether it be an essay, a diary, or a park rant. Folks had made me the number 15 author there on Substack, 6 or 7 behind my mortal nemesis, Dave Barry. So the more people who subscribe at CoreyWritesForYou.com, the closer I'll get to getting that coveted trophy. I appreciate you, and stay fancy, motherfuckers.
Skew. Here's Lydia Lovelace.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Royalty and rednecks are alike. They both like cutting and picking fights. Biscuits and baked beans where they don't belong. Sit on down with Corey and Trae and learn some fancy shit today. We'll laugh a little even when they're wrong. They'll take you to a magical place where if you call someone a cunt, nobody cares. They keep it debonair at putting on airs, putting on airs, putting on airs.